Gaming and Tech this week, trying to understand modern technology is kind of like trying to read the Necronomicon. You're really just trying to learn something cool, but there's probably about a 90% chance you're going to make your refrigerator sentient
and angry.
Welcome once again, nerds, to the Clips channel. This is a smaller portion of a much larger video called The Week in Nerddom that happens over on the main channel. This portion is specifically the gaming and tech portion, where we're going to be talking about brand new things in the world of gaming and tech. So like new computer things. We don't really get too deep into that. I feel like the guys over at Linus and Gamers Nexus and such cover that fairly well. So we'll get the broad strokes there. We'll get in a little bit more deeply in the gaming side of things, so new announcements, DLCs, etc. And then, you know, we're going to suggest some things for you to try out between now and next time you come back. So thank you for joining me. Let's get into the news. All right, follow-ups and corrections. There is actually nothing to follow up on or correct this week in gaming and tech. Looks like we got it all right last time, so let's keep going. So then, trailers is where we go next, and in trailers we got a new gameplay trailer for the Tokan, whatever the hell, the new Marvel fighting game that's coming out that's not by Capcom. It's showing off Spider-Man and Ghost Rider, so new characters added to the roster, and it looks fine, I guess. Like, I really am kind of lost on the hype for this. It is not MVC. It's something else that seems like it's trying to be MVC, so I don't know, maybe somebody else can explain this one to me in the comments. Meanwhile, I guess technically this could have gone in the follow-ups and corrections, but it's technically a trailer. It is from Sony's State of Play. Last week we talked about the State of Play. It hadn't aired by the time I was filming, and so I said if there was anything significant, it would get inserted into last week's episode. We didn't do an insert into last week's episode because there was really just this one thing, and it's Wolverine finally got a freaking trailer. The new Insomniac Games game is definitely on the right track. It looks absolutely brutal and fantastic. The game is currently slated for release in fall of 2026, so we still have a whole nother year before we get to actually play this thing. It is only going to be on PlayStation 5, just like Spider-Man, which was also Insomniac Games. It is absolutely about time we got a proper M-rated Wolverine title either way, even though I'm just going to have to watch a bunch of Let's Plays online. Though, I think it'd be interesting if eventually this whole cross-platform thing that Sony and Microsoft are playing with benefits the Microsoft side maybe even a little bit. Either way, like I said, this is kind of the only thing that was really worth noting in the State of Play from Sony last week, which is why we're putting it here. Also, 2 words, Omega Red. Hell yes, that's 4. And then speaking of icons in pop culture, we have a new Halloween game on the way, and the trailer is suggesting controversial new supernatural take on Michael Myers. And to that I say, I mean, the character has been retconned more than a superhero from comic books at this point, so what's one more weird timeline, I guess, all right? All right, nerds, let's be real. You need to stay up. You're going to be up all night. You need a little bit of energy. You're going to be finishing that raid or grinding on the most recent battle pass for whatever game you happen to be playing, and that's where DUBBY comes in. DUBBY is the clean fuel for your all-night shenanigans. So it doesn't make you feel like your heart is going to be exploding out of your chest anytime soon. One of my favorites, one of my absolute go-tos is the Cali-O Cream. Cali-O Cream. I always want to say Dream for some reason. Cali-O Cream. It is orange cream flavored. It is freaking awesome. And you can get 10% off of it if you go to DUBBY and use code GenerallyNerdy at checkout. You'll get actually 10% off of everything in your cart. You get a little bit, I get a little bit, DUBBY gets a little bit. It's win-win all over. So once again, go to dubby.gg, that is DUBBY.gg, code GenerallyNerdy at checkout, and upgrade your brain juice. Now let's get into some regular-ass news for gaming and tech. We've got a bit to bite off on this one. So first thing in regular-ass news, Epic Games has pulled the Peacemaker character from the Fortnite store after players pointed out that it bore a very striking resemblance. Or it's the emote. It's a new dance that's based on the opening sequence of the current season of Peacemaker. It resembles a Nazi salute, kind of sort of resembles a swastika all at the same time. It's a little weird. Someone in the approvals department over at Epic Games was clearly asleep at the wheel with this one. Yikes. And then, for potentially the largest piece of news this week in gaming and tech, we have EA, Electronic Arts, the company that you love to hate, that, puts loot boxes inside of loot boxes, inside of other loot boxes, it would seem. Well, they have just been acquired, so they kind of sold themselves, it would seem, for $55 billion with a B dollars. And who exactly are the buyers, you might be asking? Well, funny thing that you did. It's three different groups that are purchasing it together. First of which being Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, which you'll recognize because they just bought a good portion of Evo as well. It's them alongside Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, his company I didn't write down in the notes because, of course, I take amazing notes. Also, I misspoke. It is two investors, not three. It's just those two entities, Public Investment Fund and Kushner's company. It's officially the biggest leveraged buyout of a public company ever. So, what does that mean for gamers? Well, in the short term, probably nothing. But in the long term, we'll have to just wait and see if this is just simply an investment trying to get to the eyes of the American audience, or maybe the Saudi government is going to try and start influencing these games that are coming out of EA. And the next version of Battlefield is going to have a new mode that's called Disappear the Journalist. What, too soon? In other news that's going to make you scratch your head at least a little bit, and this is coming on the tails of the congressional admission, I guess you can call it, that Alphabet had last week about censoring YouTube channels. Well, this week, Alphabet is still in the news for new news. They are Google's parent company, if you don't know, and Google is YouTube's parent company. And, well, it would seem that they are settling with the Trump, and they're paying him $22 million. Actually, some of the estimates that I've seen on this one go as high as $24 million. But because it's an out-of-court settlement, we won't probably know explicitly what that number is. But they're paying $22 million to settle a lawsuit with President Trump over claims that YouTube censored him post-January 6th. It seems like they really just wanted to make this go away, right? And then it's tech, so it's a lot of weirdness, but this one's exceptionally weird. OpenAI is reportedly planning on developing a TikTok-style social media app to coincide with the launch of Sora 2, their new video generation platform. Well, that kind of sort of stealth launched just the other day. There hasn't been much fanfare about it, but it did happen, and we still don't have this new TikTok-like social media experience. But that is still pretty dang weird, right? Because the world definitely just needs another app to rot your brain out while you endlessly doom scroll on your couch. Only this one's going to be better because it's all generated by AI. All right, so you've heard of vibe coding, right? Just the TLDR in case you haven't, because not everybody is up on the lingo with the kids. But just in case you don't know, TLDR is vibe coding is when you go to an AI bot and you say, I want an app that does this. And then the AI bot writes the code for you so that you don't have to write it. You just tell it what you want and it does all the work for you. Well, Microsoft is now trying to make vibe working a thing. They're going to implement AI in its Office suite, inside of Microsoft's Office suite, that is going to allow you to do a day's work effectively-ish based off of a simple text prompt. It sounds like it's the perfect tool for, anyone who wants to make it look like they're doing work without actually doing the work, which is kind of all of corporate America, I feel like. And in a move that is sure to shake the Mushroom Kingdom at its core, Doug Bowser, yes, that is his real name, Doug Bowser is stepping down as president of Nintendo America, rather. No word yet as to who will be replacing him, but my money is on a guy whose last name somehow turns out to be Ganondorf. And then in a blast from the past, 1998 specifically, we have Fatal Fury 2, The Newcomers, has secretly been re-released 27 years later with new rollback netcode. It just kind of appeared on Steam, which is a pleasant surprise for fighting game fans and also Street Fighter lore fans, because those two are the same universe, aren't they? And then let's round out Gaming and Tech with our suggestion for the week. Suggestion this week in Gaming and Tech is System Shock 2. It is a 1999 masterpiece on many platforms that just recently got a remaster. It was last year in June. It blends FPS, RPG, and survival horror elements into one of the most terrifying and influential gaming experiences of all time. It is the direct ancestor of games like BioShock and now Outer Worlds, and its villain, Shodan, makes GLaDOS look like a kindly old grandmother. It honestly holds up surprisingly well, especially the remaster, so educate yourselves and go play. That is your suggestion for the week. Alright, so nerds, real talk real quick. This clip that you're watching, well, this is just an appetizer. A single lonely mozzarella stick. The entire episode, the entire main course, if you will, the full episode of The Week in Nerddom with all of the music and movie and TV and gaming and comic book and tech and all of the news is waiting for you over on the main channel, Generally Nerdy. So if you like this little taste, then hit the button that says so. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can continue getting these little morsels from time to time, but then go feast on the whole meal at the main channel, Generally Nerdy. Links are in the description or at the end of the video. Just don't starve your brain. Thank you very much, nerds, for tuning in. If you want to level up your nerdy, geeky, pop culture knowledge, then don't forget to subscribe and do all of the things. Go check out the main channel, Generally Nerdy, for the larger portion. Again, you get all of the sections into one convenient video over on Generally Nerdy. The name of the show is The Week in Nerddom. Thank you for checking out this clip. We will see you next time. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, probably here.